Hi and welcome back to a new episode with Python. Today's episode is about DataFrame. What is a DataFrame? We will gonna discuss different ways to define and construct a DataFrame, even from scratch. Let's see what are characteristics and structure of DataFrames. We will see in the next following videos how to describe, how to use index, reset index, what is the shape of DataFrame, the size of a DataFrame. Also, in the next videos, we will gonna discuss how to access to elements, columns, rows using ilog, log, add, At the same, we're going to create some new data frames and we're going to discuss how to insert, how to create new columns, also how to create and insert new values. Let's see. Next. Okay, the first video of this series of videos about data frames is about how to create data frames, how to define a data frame, how to construct, and what is a data frame? Well, the definition is a data frame is a two-dimensional labeled data structure. It's like a table of data that we're going to use, but we can use different types in each column. Okay, it's like a spreadsheet we use in Excel, or you can see it an Sql Table. And how to define this data frame, this structure? Well, we're going to use lists, tuples, dictionaries, and more. Let's see. Python has a constructor using the Pandas library like this. When you call Pandas, you will see that it's going to display a data frame. The first is going to be data. The index we're going to use. Sometimes it is not necessary to use index. Pandas itself is going to create our index starting from 0, as is usual in Python. Columns name, we can create a vector with columns name, or Python is going to create by itself the columns name. However, we can introduce the names of these columns by definition. Okay, for example, this is the data frame or one example of what we can create as a data frame, starting ID as our index 0, 1, and 2. So that means that we have 3 observations and 4 columns or 4 attributes or features. As you can see, we have a numerical column, a string column. Okay, the most important thing here is let's use Pandas. Pandas is gonna let us to work with data structures. Okay, that's what's very important. The definition of Pandas, we can find this in Pandas itself, is a software library written for the Python programming language, and it's for data manipulation analysis. Okay, mostly it offers data structures and operations for manipulating numerical tables and time series. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, the first thing is to give a short name to Pandas. Instead of saying Pandas, we can short this by PD. That's the first thing we do. So you can see I'm gonna use Pandas now. And okay, what is a panda? Pandas, and now I use PD. I'm gonna show you here PD dot, and we can see that Python itself is showing me some options. Data frame. That's my case. Okay, data frame, the data. Okay, in this case, Python is gonna take data as the name of the column if I don't mention it. As you can see here, the brackets, if you remember in a previous video we discussed about the use of brackets. In this case, is a list of values. The index, I'm gonna create a new index starting from 0 to 3. Why to 3? Because the 4th is not used, or just indication of where to finish it. In a previous video, I'm gonna let you to see the link in the description. We discussed about the function range too. Okay, and here, because I only have one column, I can define my column's name. Okay, so Pandas is not going to take data as the name, right? It's going to take A. So let's see. We're going to create our first data frame in Python. I created, as you can see here to my right, say data frame size 4, 1 column and 4 elements, as we can see. Also here, I can see the code I just used. And what else we can do? Okay, we can print and see our information. You can see here, my column's name is A, 0 of the first index, and so on. Okay, this is when we create a data frame from scratch and just few observations, of course. Okay, but what if I already have an object and I want to convert it into a data frame? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Here, for example, I have a list of strings, you, for me, and so on. And as you can see, the brackets was like this here, is a list. This is a list too, and I just call the constructor of a data frame. It's a LST without index, without columns name. And we will see how Python define my columns and how it defined my index. By the way, here I can change my index. I can start in 3. I'm going to finish in 4. And you will see how this is going to change. As you can see, the index changed 1, 2, 3, and 4 because I defined my index. Okay, let's continue. As mentioned here, no index, no columns name. So what's going to do Python? First of all, we have to define LST, my list. So you can see it's a list, 7 elements. And now I built my data frame. I call that constructor of DataFrame with pandas. And here we have columns name 0. Let's see, no columns name. I didn't mention any name for my column, so Python call it 0. Okay, and the index, okay, it create an index by itself. This is what pandas does for us. Okay, here, what is this? Okay, if you remember, in the previous video too, we discussed about using tuples. Here I have a tuple. I have 1, 2, and hello. The same for the other one, 2, 3, and word. So I'm gonna use these tuples, but because I have two tuples in the brackets, that means it's a list. So you can see here, X is my list with 2 tuples, of course. That's why it says size 2, not like the other ones. It has 7. I have 2 lists, but each list has 2 tuples. And I just call my constructor, and let's see what are the names of the columns. 0, 1, and 2. I have 3 columns with numerical name, with a number for each of them. Okay. However, I can change it. I can change the columns equal A, B, and C, respectively, and we'll see. Okay, A, B, and C. So we can provide columns name, index name, and also we can provide all the information just with one single name here by defining an object before. Okay, so if I have multiple objects and I want to transform it to data frame, I just call that pandas data frame construct. Okay, let's see an array, for example. An array is a different object than a list. So the first thing is to call numpy, because numpy, remember, we discussed this about in the previous series about vectors using numpy. And now I'm gonna call numpy array. I'm gonna create an array, and I have a matrix here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And this is what I use. You will see that different objects can be converted into a data frame. And here I have the numpy array you just saw. We have 3 columns, and that's what I'm going to call columns here. Columns A, B, and C. My list of columns name, and I'm going to save this in df2. In here, as you can see, I have columns name A, B, and C, and the size of my data frame is 3 and 3, 3 by 3. I print it, and voila, simple as good. Now, other way, and honestly a good way to create a data frame, is to defining my data as a dictionary. Identically, you can see in the description how to deal with dictionaries or how to create dictionaries with Python. Here we have 3 different keys: name, age, and marks with their value. For example, name has Joe, Nat, and Harry as the values, and age, the key, has different values: 20, 21, and 19. This is our dictionary. Let's see. I define my dictionary, and we can see here in the global environment here, the variable explorer, I have dict here. Name with 3 different values, age, and marks, the other keys with different values. And I print it. We can see it in the console here. Okay, and as we did before with an array, with a list, we can just call the pandas data frame constructor to transform this dictionary into a data frame. And here it is. As you can see, I'm gonna print it, and here we have our data frame. I didn't have to use columns name because each key is associated with a column, and the values are corresponding to observation in each column. Okay, this is a simple way. Okay, another way, for example, as you can see, I have numerical values for all of my keys and values respectively, and I save in D, and I just call the constructor. Okay, as you can see, we have an error here. Arrays must all be same length. So what he can do if they have different length? This one has 4 values and this one has 3 values. Let's see if I create index, because here I didn't mention any index, remember, so I let Python to create the index by itself. But let's see if I give Python the index I need. Nothing. As you can see, the data frames have a limitation, that is to have the same length. All the columns, when we are defining the column, the data frame, need the same length for all of them, 4 and 3 respectively. So what we can do, right? How to create or how to define this new data frame with different length in our new columns. So let's see. I couldn't do it with this dictionary, but let's see here. Let's see here with this new dictionary. Method 2. Okay, I'm gonna use series. Series is like a data frame, but with only one column. Okay, as you can see here, I'm gonna define series. We usually use it for one single column in numerical. Okay, index, I'm just providing the index. So you can see I'm gonna run this part here. PD series is like a one single column data frame. Is A, B, and C, 1, 2, 3, and the same I'm gonna do with the second series. Okay, I have something here. Okay, I didn't need the parenthesis. Parenthesis is missing. Okay, here A, B, C, and D. As you can see, they have 3 elements, and this one has 4 elements. And I'm gonna try to combine them in a new dictionary. The dictionary doesn't have this restriction, remember, about length. It's like the list. The list and dictionaries don't care about the length in each of their elements. Okay, the dictionary goes fine. So you can see D now it changed. It's 1 is a series and 2 is series 2. So my keys are 1 and 2, but the values for each key is 2 different series. Okay, and now because I already create index, when I call my data frame constructor, what it's going to do is going to have the same problem than before. Let's see. Save it. Oh, no error. Why? How Python did, or how Python deal with the missing observation. Let's see. Okay, as you can see here, the solution, none. Because we already defined index for each series, Python, or once Python is calling that constructor, it's going to fill the missing value with none. That, of course, is a missing value. Okay, this is the first part of our series of videos about data frames. Keep tuned for the next video. See you.